And we should be live. Let's see if I can see myself. Just gonna wait for a few more minutes, a minute or two, until some more people drop in, because it's not 12:30 Central European time still. So if you can hear me properly, and if you're already waiting, drop a GM or drop something else in the chat so I know everything works properly. GM Passy, yeah, it should be working. GM Geert, how are you doing? I hope everyone is having a great Friday, preparing for the weekends. I am. I am. Currently traveling to Portugal. We're almost halfway. So we parked the camper at the right side of the road and grabbed my podcast gear for a quick Q&A. And once it's ready, we'll be heading back to the highway. Okay, great to hear, Geert. How's your Friday, Geert? There's always a bit of a delay in the comments, I see. Okay, it's 12:30, and that means that we are going to start the Q&A. I've had some great lead gen related questions in in Discord, where we are always opening up the channel in preparation for the Q&A on Fridays. So I've prepared some questions for you guys, and I'm also going to give you a sneak preview in some of our slide decks, because some questions were that good that we actually prepared slides for them that I can show you in some instances. And I think this will be of great help for some questions. So the first question is from Gabriele, from our Italian friend. I have to figure out a way to see if I pronounce your name correctly, but I think it's Gabrielle. If not, please send me a voice message so I know how to pronounce your name in the near future. So the question from Gabrielle is basically, what is your experience with Performance Max for lead gen? One, is it better than search plus discovery? Or I think other upper funnel campaigns like search plus display, search plus YouTube, and other combos. And two, what are your pros and cons? So let me grab my slide deck for this, because we will be touching on this in our next week masterclass regarding PMAX as well. So I'm going to present my share screen real quick and see if everything works. It should be right now. Let me know if this works properly. Good morning, Adrian. So regarding your question, Gabriel, basically we have two. There are some pros and cons regarding B2C and B2B. In my opinion, first of all, real short, real quick, B2C tends to work quite well. Mostly when you are looking at the spend shares in the bottom of the funnel region, if you're running a tight target CPA, for example, and the B2B side of things tend to perform quite shit. And I'm also hearing that from other advertisers in the space. So let me run you to the cons and the pros. So regarding B2C, the reason why this works for B2C and why it doesn't really work that well for B2B is that in B2C markets, there tends to be a lot of volume in place. So there tends to be a lot of search volume and there tends to be a lot of conversion volume to be captured. In B2B, that's most of the times not really a thing, especially in the really tight niches. that is, with like tens, maybe a few hundred searches worldwide regarding certain B2B related terms. It's way harder for PMAX to deliver into the bottom of the funnel region. For B2C, that's not the case. That means that Google also has quite a lot of signals to quickly learn what works and what doesn't for the B2C side, and that isn't really applicable for the B2B side of things. So regarding B2C, I tend to see great results. B2B, not really. I have a second slide for you to show after this one as well. But before you start diving into Performance Max for both side of things, so B2C and B2B, I would suggest maxing out your dedicated search campaign first. And by maxing out, I mean maxing it out through by budget, so by capturing as lot as impression share as possible that is possible within your TCPA target, and next to that also targeting wise. So if you're maxing out on the budget side of things, that's great. But most of the times there's still some more volume to be captured regarding the targeting settings. And what I mean by that is that you still have opportunities maybe to explore by running broad match, by running some more keyword research analysis in order to broaden up maybe a little bit more in the think phase, in the mid funnel of things. And that's where you want to be first. After that, so once that's done, you want to be discovering, the dedicated upper funnel campaigns first, in my honest opinion, if you have the budgets. So if you're really running low on budgets, then it's not really possible to leverage dedicated upper funnel campaigns like display, discovery, YouTube, and maybe a PMAX campaign next to your search campaign directly makes more sense. But if you have the budget, and you are willing to spend some learning money that PMAX would otherwise also spend, then I would highly suggest running dedicated campaigns. So regarding the B2B side of things, we've already touched on the that is very hard for you to get things running profitable. Why is that? Well, that is because of the lower volumes compared to B2C. That's also because there are therefore few data points for the algorithm to learn from, and the signals that you might be adding to your PMAX audience list are yeah, very specific and having few data points as well. So the algorithm doesn't really know what kind of people to search for, since it's so that of a niche. What you're also seeing in dedicated campaigns like display, YouTube, discovery for B2B is that Google is having troubles in finding relevant contextually relevant places in the middle of the funnel and in the top of the funnel. So if you're running dedicated campaigns, this is also a problem next to PMAX, but in PMAX especially, because Google tends to go very broad, and since your audience signals are very limited most of the times, Google tends to go very broad as well, not reaching the perfect customers. And there's one last thing that is a huge con, in my opinion, and maybe the most important thing when you start leveraging PMAX for lead gen, especially in B2B. And that is because of the different messaging. So in PMAX, you are only able, since it's a one-size-fits-all campaign with just one, most of the time, one asset group with multiple items, you're most of the time focusing on just one offer and one action to be completed. And this isn't really that strong in upper funnel regions, especially in B2B, because if you're running a B2B SaaS company, for example, and you want people to sign up for your demo, you want people to trial, you want people to download a certain ebook, well, then you might want to leverage certain let me grab a slide real quick. I think I have it somewhere because I have some great examples for this. Whoop, 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 whoop. Well, I'm lost. But basically, what I'm trying to tell you over here is you want to leverage certain messaging in different channel temperatures. So if you're running a B2B SaaS company, for example, you do not want to steer on book a trial here, book a demo, or book a consultation call, because that doesn't really work in upper funnel regions, middle of the funnel regions. You want to alter your offer based on the channel temperature that makes sense for somebody that doesn't know you to perform, basically. So that's something to keep in mind. You aren't able to do that with PMX, since it's a one message fits all strategy, and you are able to do that with dedicated campaigns. So that's something to keep in the back of your minds over here. And that's a huge con for me, and that's why I tend to not use PMX that much, to be very honest, for lead gen, because I want to alter my messaging. I want to alter my landing pages. I want to alter my targets. I want to bid more aggressively in search. I want to bid less aggressively in upper funnel, hence the lower conversion rates, etc., etc. So there are a lot of nuances to be made over here, and you have to think very clearly for yourself if it makes sense for your business. Last remark I want to make over here. For B2C, most of the times it's a little bit easier to run heavy, warmer temperature call to action, such as ask for a quote, or click to call, or contact us, since it's more B2C driven and there are less of the revenue is lower, the potential boundaries aren't really there, but that's just different for B2B. So that's the first question answered, basically. The second answer over here, let me quickly check the chat. Geert is saying, seeing much better results on B2B in search with TCPA portfolio strategy compared to PMX here as well. Yeah, just the way I see it, Geert, B2B is just way harder to run PMX successfully for. And if you're able to leverage up search and run dedicated campaigns, well, that's the way to go, in my honest opinion. Hello, Maarten. Good afternoon. Can you not catch that in different item groups? So no, not really, Maarten. The problem over here is that you can make different item groups with different call to actions, with different images, with different finding URLs, etc. But you aren't able to let the algorithm optimize for certain specific call to actions within your specific item groups. You're only able to link, for example, one or multiple campaign specific goals, and the whole campaign is optimizing for that set of conversion goals, basically. And you aren't also able to set different target CPAs for different item groups if you're using them. So if you're making multiple item groups with just different messaging, I think that's also a suboptimal way to organize PMX. And be successful in this campaign type. So it's just really hard to do this, basically. I hope that makes sense. So let's go to the second question. If you are having questions like Maarten, just drop them in YouTube, and I'm happy to insert them into the banners. So the second question, or basically the third question, is from Sinan. How to get B2B leads more efficiently? Which campaign types is the right or better one? Well, we just had a discussion about this, a discussion with myself, basically, where I basically said, try to start in the bottom of the funnel. So with dedicated search campaign, max that one out first, budget-wise, targeting-wise, until there are no more fishes to be caught left, and then start scaling up into that funnel. So if this is your funnel, search over here, displays over here, YouTube is a little bit higher most of the times, and you want to be scaling up from there. That way, you are basically starting out with the most the most relevant channels, basically, with the leads that have the highest potential, that are also most of the times the cheapest and the most intentful. And that's the way I like to do things. And most of the time it's just a budget thing in order to scale fast. So if you're running on limited budgets, maybe you have to stick with it with search. If you want to scale, if you have the budget, you might are ending up sooner into the upper regions of the funnel. So we have a question from Michelle, which is, what are the main things you should look for to make sure lead gen is at the highest quality when running lead gen campaigns in Google Ads, of course? OCT, enhanced conversions, right search terms. Good question, Michelle. In my opinion, catching the highest quality leads within B2B comes down to your keywords, basically. That's the first most important thing. So be really specific in your keyword analysis. Start out with tight match types. That's the way I like to do things when I start out, especially in B2B, where the click prices tend to be a lot higher. If the click prices are lower and you have the budget to quickly learn, you might want to broaden up in the first phase, so you get more keyword IDs, so you know what people are searching for, in order for you to craft more relevant ads and maybe craft even more relevant landing pages. So it really comes down to your keyword set and the stuff you're targeting. Next to that, I think the second most important thing is the way you feed the algorithm. So conversion tracking and data input is, in my opinion, hugely important once you've got your targeting in place. So you really should be looking into offline conversion tracking, in my opinion. In short, OCT, because you want to upload qualified leads and close deals into Google Ads. So you basically see where your qualified leads and your purchases are coming from which campaigns, from which keyword sets, from which search terms, etc. So you can basically use that information to further optimize your campaigns. If you're running enough data and you're inputting quite a lot of qualified leads or closed deals, you might want to switch from conversion action, where you are starting to feed the algorithm basically with qualified leads and closed leads into your conversion columns. So the algorithm starts optimizing for the more qualified ones, or even sales if you're running high volumes. And the threshold I use personally is 50 conversions per month per campaign. And that's quite a lot. But if you're able to hit those kind of numbers with your qualified leads and closed deals, you might want to switch over faster to this kind of data input, so the algorithm is able to start bidding on auction level on these kind of signals, and that's really, really helpful. The second thing I want to suggest is start to look into, if we're still talking about conversion tracking, start to look into custom variables. It's something that not a lot of people use, but that's really, really helpful in the B2B space. Because if you're, for example, a B2B SaaS player and you sell subscription models, you might want to upload the packages people bought, maybe the different packages you offer, budget, normal, premium, and maybe you want to also upload data like the length that people bought their packages for, and that you can do with custom variables. And if you're uploading that into your Google Ads account, you're also able to see from what kind of campaigns, ad groups, keywords, ads, what kind of packages, for example, people buy. So you can start to identify what your highest value dimensions are, basically. That's something I would highly suggest diving into. So let's quickly jump over to the chat. I see Martin has one more question. One question comes in mind. With some clients, I'm facing spam conversions. How to deal with that? Yeah, that's that's a huge problem. The first thing that comes to my mind is start to look into spam tools and anti-spam tools like Lunio or ClickSeize. That helps somewhat, but it doesn't really close them out all. The second thing I see people doing is creating really long forms, so the spam bots aren't able to fill out certain forms, or they just hook off. That's not really the way I like to do this, because that really hurts your conversion rate for the people that do show interest and are real humans. So this is something that that is really hurtful for your campaigns, and there's not really a solution for this right now. What you can do, however, is it's messing up your data. That's too bad, but you can correct the Google Ads algorithm for this with conversion adjustments. So what you can do is, maybe if you encounter spam conversions, you might want to retrace jargon over here. You want to remove those conversions into your Google Ads account by telling Google, hey, these conversions weren't real, or these were returned, or these, well, I just want to remove them from my columns. And that's the thing you can do with the help of conversion adjustments. The only thing you in order to make this happen is for you to capture the Google Click ID for lead gen, because you have to upload the Google Click ID and then tell Google what you want to do with this spam conversion. For example, you want to retrace this one, you want to remove it, and since you need the Google Click ID, you have to capture this and send it over with your forms. So that's a very important step that a lot of people forget. Yeah, and like Geert is saying over here, spam is just a really big issue in PMAX. In PMAX especially, and I think most of the spam is coming from apps and discovery, and that's a thing I think you can more easily monitor and more easily optimize for if you are running dedicated campaigns like display and YouTube, where you have the placement insights, and you also see what's happening. Yeah, no problem, Martin. I hope this is somewhat helpful. And if you need more documentation regarding the stuff I just mentioned, like custom variables, conversion adjustments, feel free to send me a message, because I can hook you up with the actual resources. So let's continue with the next question. And this one is from Michelle. What are the main things you should look? No, this one I already had. So this question I meant. This one is from T-Mac. What are your thoughts on consolidating ad structure? Do you focus more on landing pages or group keywords based on their similarity? This is a great question, T-Mac. I think a lot of people are struggling with this. I sometimes myself struggle with this as well, with the grouping part. The thing I still find more relevant at this very moment is the keyword team, instead of the landing pages that you might have. So I always tend to organize my ad groups based on the keyword teams and the sub keyword teams, for which I do not mean that I'm still scagging a single keyword ad grouping, because that's a thing of the past. But what I am doing is grouping certain intentions, certain themes. Let me give you an example. Let's say people are searching for a gardening service. Then the general keywords you might want to group into one ad group. But if people are searching for gardening service, let's say tree cutting or lawn mowing, then those are really different things, and you should, in my opinion, want to segment them out into different ad groups, and you also should create more and different landing pages for these, in my opinion, because if you are missing those two additional landing pages, for example, for the morning lawn morning services and the tree cutting services, for example, then you are basically sending everyone to your homepage, and then it isn't really powerful to segment these things out. So in my opinion, you should start with the keyword themes first, then look at your landing pages and identify the landing pages that you are missing. Head over to your client and ask for these kind of landing pages. For my own B2B and B2C clients, I create the landing pages myself, so I don't have the problem on the client side, because a lot of times when you go back to your client, hey, I need a landing page for this, for this, for this, for this, they're like, okay, all fun and games, but I have more things to do and I do not have time for this. So yeah, I'm sorry, just send everything back to the homepage. And that's something I said 3 years ago to myself, like, I don't want this to happen anymore. And that's when I started using a landing page builders tool, builders like Unbounce. That's the one I prefer using. So I'm in charge of what is happening landing page wise, and also pre-click wise. So that's really interesting, and in my opinion, very nice, a very nice place to be in, because that means that you, as the Google Ads advertiser, are basically responsible for the whole lead generation, from keyword targeting till ad copywriting till creating a good offer in collaboration with your client, of course, and also converting that click with the landing page that you have created yourself. So if that's not hitting your CPA targets, or if you're running low conversion rates, then that's something that you should be looking. You should be pointing towards yourself for, because you're the one that basically is responsible for the whole circle, and it makes you makes you way more flexible. So I would suggest trying this out. So that's a little bit of a side note. But Timek, I hope this makes sense. If not, I'm happy to follow up over here. Let me see if there are any additional questions. I think these are the most important questions from Discord that I received. If you guys have any more, feel free to drop them into the YouTube comment section. Let's see. Let's see if I can find an additional question. Yes, some also giving me a question that is quite similar from the question that Timek just asked. That is basically the question. Hi, new question over here. But can you explain Hagakure method, please, as opposed to SCAX for lead gen home service business? Well, this isn't really specific for home service businesses. This can be applied for everything, some. But Hagakure basically means that you want to consolidate your data points wherever possible. The best practice over here is that you create an ad group, that you create one unique ad group per landing page URL, basically, and you want to steer towards 3,000 impressions per week per ad group, which is really hard to gather for certain lower volume accounts. And when you're doing this, that means that Google is basically sending more data through a limited amount of assets, so the algorithm can learn more quickly, faster, basically. So in a SCAC way, you basically had like 50 SCAC'd out ad groups, and if you were running like RSAs in there with 15 headlines, 4 description lines, and segmenting out all your data points, that just means that Google needs a hell of a lot of data in order to know what works and what doesn't. And by consolidating, you're basically pushing all these data points to a fewer amount of assets, and Google is able to learn more faster, and therefore giving you better results. But there are a few nuances and best practices regarding the Hagakure method that we just spoke about regarding the question from Timek. So in my opinion, you shouldn't be really focusing that much on the unique landing pages, but you should still take into account the keyword themes. So do not specify out all of the long tails, but group them together based on the services you might offer, or the products you might sell, and then identify the landing page that you have to create in order to be as relevant as possible with a crazy good call to action. And that way you are basically combining the best of two worlds. So you are still consolidating your data points, but you're still grouping your ad groups based on good themes, so you can write really relevant ads. You can steer people towards really relevant landing pages, and therefore having people to convert more easily. So I hope this makes sense. And if you Google on the Hagakure method, you're going to find a lot of resources. I can send you a slide deck from a Google presentation from about, I think, 1.5, 2 years ago, which is very helpful in my opinion as well. This is, keep in mind, really Google focused. So Google is really pushing towards the one ad group per landing page and the 3,000 minimum impression per week per ad group. Do not keep in mind that too much. But there are some good takeaways in there. So if you want to receive the slide deck, I have it somewhere in my in my folder. Just send me a message in Discord or LinkedIn, whatever you fancy, and I'm happy to hook you up with the resource. So I think that's it. We're over time, right on time, basically. If you want to join our Discord community, feel free to head over to this link below, ppcmastery.com/community. Over there, you can submit your questions because I always tend to start with those questions first. You can also connect with other Google Ads specialists in the branch and share some good memes. Because that's what we are all here for in the end. And also, if you want to receive weekly newsletters regarding one specific advanced tip Google Ads wise, feel free to head over to ppcmastery.com/blog and sign up for our newsletter. So that's it. I want to thank you all for joining. If there's any follow-up needed from my end and you have still additional questions, feel free to send me a message. I'm really keen to help you out. Well, see you guys next week. Have a nice weekend, and ciao, ciao.